Let me show you a fleeting note. And now let me show you how I process that fleeting note. And that's it. That's the first phase. Cut. Just kidding. But I bet you're wondering, well, how do I do this?
I'm so glad you asked.
Remember day one? Day one was committing to one small action because that relates to the / command current timestamp. It's starting with one small action that will push the snowball down the hill. It's momentum. Day two was to provide hope that you can do this too, since it's literally Sonke's first words. Everyone thinks that this process is only limited to a certain type of person. It's not. Everybody writes. Day three was to rattle out the free flow writing that it takes to abstract our thoughts. Since this is a frictionless tool, I had to prove that to you. And I used something that would be near and dear to you in order to loosen the grasps of perhaps past failures. Day three was also to show how invisible structure can be done in Rome with indenting. But I had to do it in a way that wasn't like, let me show you. I had to let you see that for yourself. Day four was to allow you to write. I can't think of a better way than to just allow you to write about your hopes and dreams. Sure, it put the stakes in the ground, but it was really to get you to start writing in depth of what no one else can write about but you. That's the point of a fleeting note. It's to write and abstract what resonated with you. See, it's not a summary, it's not a book report, it's you. Because this will lead into how that can inform what you declare in the permanent notes. Day five was to allow for you to focus on one idea, but to take it down multiple levels. This is meant to give you the know-how to really drill down into what you're thinking. The 5 whys are there to keep you on track, but that same skill is what it takes to break down your thoughts, isn't it? I had to keep it personal because that gave you enough certainty and self-assurance because it's what you really know. I had to build that trust in yourself because trusting in how you break it down is essential for knowledge building. Day 6 was to equate the analogy of something you do know with something you may not know on the surface. But deeper than that, it was to allow for you to describe things clearly so you can go back and understand what you wrote. It was meant to provide framework. It was meant to provide a framework for coherence. If you have just random thoughts, then you lose the impact when you stumble upon this later. You need the context of how you came up with this declarative statement because the coherence has to be there when you do see it and when you've already forgotten the idea. Day 7 was the first foray into practicing what you've learned up to this point. It's allowing for you to venture past the first steps of your known known into the known unknown. It's to examine how you're writing in Rome. It's allowing for your personal structure to form. Day 8 was to provide accountability. When I first started, I DM'd Brandon Toner after each permanent note until I got to 50. After that, I DM'd Andy Henson after each permanent note until I got to 100. You don't have to do this alone. And I wanted to show that there were people that were by your side during this process, and to allow for mutual vulnerability to be the glue that shows you that this time, you're not doing this alone. Day 9 was to convince you to use Rome as the tool. I wanted you to find the hardest paragraph you could find, because by day 10, you'd see that no paragraph would be too hard to dismantle. This was a step of courage, and I had to instill that in you. The courage to endeavor towards the most difficult things in life. See, if you tracked the distractions, it was also to show you that what worked in the 50s cannot and will not work today, which is a way to get you to see how powerful writing in Rome can be. Because the momentum that starts from the current time flows downhill in order to complete this Pomodoro timer of varying time, and each sense of completion that will soon happen with the Zettelkasten. Day 10 was to introduce the idea of fleeting notes, but in a way that wasn't force-feeding you the concept, but to combine day 9 and day 10 into a coherent idea of exactly what it means to process your fleeting notes. This is only because we have to adapt to today and beyond. We need to trust that we can think clearly enough to form original thoughts. I just couldn't think of an easier way for you to understand each one of these concepts without having you just do it. But I also knew that it would have to be in a way that you weren't expecting. See, because although intelligence is beautiful, it can sometimes get in the way of the simplicity of things. To wrap things up, I have to admit, I am falling in love with each and every one of you, and I'm committed to giving you all I've got. So I've got my fingers crossed that you all will do the work, because we're only a quarter of the way through, and it only gets better. I'm grateful to be part of this journey with you, and let's jump into the guided writing exercise.